We're live. Zane
right.
Summers. Awesome.
Tyler, man, honor to have me. And what better place than over on the west side where I grew up on the innovation spirits of what everything is.
Innovation Center. Shout out OU.
Yeah. Over here on the, where Athens Sandlot, gave me my first kind of shot. You'd say a shot, but, as a kid, you're always looking for some sort of
Well, the
employment.
JC Fields weren't even built, right, when you were growing up. They were built my whole time. I thought that those kind of came in around when maybe you would be growing up.
Well, I think there's been, you get to hear the behind the scenes talk on all that because you got a lot of very, very prominent, valuable members of the community investing their own private money. And for years, you kind of have people battling with what to do with how the city wants to run it or what they're willing to invest to upkeep it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good talk to kind of enter in because I've been, as an umpire for 10 years, I've been all around to some of the nicest parks, and all of them have the same common denominator of that the town works together.
Mm-hmm.
And there isn't this, bidding war or whatever kind of war you hear because, it's no secret that, that's a big prominent figure, Kevin Swartzel down there.
Shout out. Yeah.
Shout out. He's a big prominent figure in my life when it comes to getting involved in sport because I was never really one that liked the 9-to-5 or anything. So when you can kind of enter in, and that's how you get into the realm of 1099 work, and you're kind of working as a freelance, and you don't really know it, but you're kind of setting the grounds for being an entrepreneur.
Certainly.
Yeah. So, it's an honor to be here. This is I've seen the names you've had on before me, and a lot of the people that I respect. A lot of people that I've done work with on the court or. Officiated with or have a relationship with. So, as we got to talking before the podcast, we're both Athens Bulldogs.
Yeah,
so
shout. Yeah.
My 7-4-0 brother,
Bulldogs.
which, it's a beautiful thing because, my senior year, 09, right, we were the first year of the TVC.
Oh, okay.
So I came from a really, really, really tough SEOAL lineage before that. And we had an athletic director at the time that, people make shot calls and, it's not, we're all human beings. And I think sometimes we put our energy into people and it's like, what are you doing? It's just, you have to make a decision and you respect it. At the time we had an AD who said, to be the best, you should go play the best. So in the middle of this is the probably the brightest and the toughest the SUL had ever been. I mean, this is like when you had Chillicothe playing Zanesville at the Convo, and then you had, and this is when, Portsmouth, Ironton, everybody, they did a North and South division, right? And on top of that, we went and played the toughest non-league schedule, I think, Athens, except for when, you guys did your thing. And they is similar platforms. So the teams you guys were playing out of earning the right to play them, we tried to go play them a little bit before. And when I learned to lose.
Yeah.
And you learn that losses are just lessons. And, a lot of people from my class are great business people. And I think it translates to other aspects.
Yeah.
But it was so awesome to watch you guys dominate and get on because, other people might hate, but as a Athens Bulldog, I think I was one of the only people in my class who ended up playing a Division I sport. Mm-hmm. And that was out of a lot of resentment. I'm not going to lie. A lot of people kind of put you in a box or kind of say, you're this or that.
Yeah.
And in the same spirit of what this town, I think, put into Mr. Burrow and what he kind of amplified into the world was this is coming. And we can, this is coming whether you like it or not. Collaborate or your competition. Yeah. We don't, we have a saying in my boxing world and my business, because my business group is very intricate. It's Youngstown, Cincinnati, it goes worldwide. So, I'm an international boxing enterprise. And when you're dealing with these things, you got to kind of remember that there's a lot of ethics and things involved. So, which ties into learning to lose because man, we got beat 77-0 by teams.
We beat teams 77-0.
I was the teams you guys rolled in on, and a lot of those coaches were your coaches.
Yeah, so, Ryan Adams or Ron Lucas, would have been right when he started at Athens.
Yeah. He, I was
Goody.
Adams, he was my
PE teacher.
We have a lot I had an older brother, part of the 02 class, which was Grant Gray, all them, one of the best classes to ever come through, and at 7-3, you missed the playoffs that year.
Yeah.
So like that's deep, with one loss, where you beat the league champ, but then the other two teams kind of beat them, and it creates this issue where you got to beat the one person that time, and you didn't, and so I got to be around, the Champlin dynasty. I wouldn't call it dynasty, I guess. Should hold my word. It was a good reign, but when you're looking at like the Amex dynasties of Logan, and that's kind of like what I've always, sports writers in the area, inspire me as well a little bit to kind of, when you cover an area, and that's kind of like officiating, a coach sees 2 games a week, right? I'm an official, and I'm in 5 different counties seeing 10 different teams, because I went Monday to Monday, brother.
Wow.
Like, if people don't know, I'm Monday to Monday.
So you reffed everything, like baseball, all season?
Basketball, football.
Yeah, wow.
Just continually into each other while also like going to school or whatever I was doing, when I did it when I was playing football. So I was actually a ref.
That's crazy.
A OSA ref.
Hard worker, yeah.
Before I walked onto the football team.
That's crazy.
So there's we can kind of get into, the gap years, because baseball, like, after I graduated high school, I did not know what I wanted to do.
Me either, yeah.
So, C+ mind student kind of, 2.3 on the, you don't think about college too much. So you're like, what should I do? So I decided to make this grand idea to train all year and play my last season of Legion baseball and try to go play college baseball. Because, you just put these things in your head. I like to create carrots in my head to chase, because I'm a firm believer that, on the journey, you become who you want to become. Yeah. So if you're trying to win someone back, right? Obviously, there's a lot that you probably need to do. Or if you need to get a job back, some sort of opportunity that you lost due to your own thing, you need to do a lot of hard work to get it back, right?
Reasonable, yeah.
So are you going to do it? Is kind of the question I say. And if you kind of pause and get stagnant, it kills the momentum. And it's just make the decision and make it good later, and because around here a lot, when you start something and you want to do something that is, because a lot of people don't really, this podcast took courage. You want to set it up.
Yeah, I started thinking about it in 2020, right? It's 2025.
It's a manifestation of your thoughts. So you take it from subjectual to objectual. And that's actually the definition of psychedelic.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, in the terms. And that's a lot of terms get used and played around. And, when you study philosophy, you learn singularities. And you used to think tank. I used to get the top minds from different, Ivy League schools teach here. So you just go in and, you'd start talking about and it kind of ties back to deciding what you want to do. I was kind of hesitant, when you get you can create too many carrots. And then, the person who chases a couple rabbits, they say catches none.
You spin in circles, because you're trying to chase this carrot over here, but then your attention gets distracted and it's this carrot over here, but you go back to that carrot, which took you. Yeah, it's just kind of death by 1,000 cuts almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of playing into what we're doing in life now, is a lot of people choose these lives that kill them slowly instead of just doing that really hard decision that, it's the people around you, the people you love the most, you can kind of grow an anxious attachment to and make yourself soft around. And I've done it. And
so that's a introspective observation.
And then you get really, I've been through my loss, and it's kind of one of those things where you can blame, but it really just comes down to what you weren't able to do as yourself. Anything I've been on the football team, I've been on OU, and I've been kicked out of the university. I've worked hours to set things up, and I've ruined it in 30 seconds of temper.
Yeah.
And, you want to be, as a community member, I see a lot, as I come back from Los Angeles into here, you're trying to step in, at 34, it's, we ain't in the bars no more. We ain't drinking, we ain't running that. And if you are really doing that and you want to be in that life, it's kind of one of those things that you can claim you're gangster or you're doing this and that, but really you're just a debauchery to society. And what you're doing is harming your family. And the worst part about it is you're harming your future self. Because as a person, you've worked in the bar scene. I've worked in the bar scene. We ain't going to say no names. But when you're in that, it's just the underground, and you're going to get exactly what it is. So if you want to be about that life is going to find you.
Yeah.
And all the real gangsters I know are trying not to be gangster anymore. And that kind of gets into sports and like why we're here to talk. So like what the 7-4 ULLC is, and I started it as kind of a community. You know, one of my good friends, you know, I think we were partying one night and he wrote it on my table. And I was like, okay, that's the name of what I do, because I do so many multifaceted things that I never wanted to call it one. So you wanted to be vague, do your beta years, you know, 5 to 7 years, just start. Everybody's so scared. It's like,
you said something earlier, make it now, make it good later. Yeah. Like that's kind of this pod. Yeah, dude, I am all in on that.
Every time, more and more, amplify. So now you got, you know, and I think you want to, a lot of people like both of you and me. So that's where I kind of, you know, you're going through this, you're going through your struggles, you see other people's success. And, you know, one of my favorite sayings is when you start comparing, you rob yourself of joy. You're truly. And that's why it's important to start, like, you know, really concentrating on the content you take in and the words you let hit your mind and vibrate. Because, you know, you don't want to push anything on anyone. You want people to find things. But if you're reading low vibrational stuff all day, what do you think it's going to do to you?
Yeah.
It's going to heighten your, and I think we're all going through this technological boom. Here we are. You know, I think if we could get 400 people to come and listen to me and you without all this, we would. But you and I, we adapt to where the market's going. So to be a young entrepreneur now, you know, you're going to get involved with a lot of business people right now. But what do they know about e-commerce? What do they know about the lower generation that created this thing we're kind of involving in and interacting with? It's kind of you know, and I think that's where, like, our generation, it bridges the gap. You know, as a millennial, you know, 34, I remember being in 3rd grade, you're learning cursive, and in 4th grade, they wheeled in these new things called laptops, and we're using them. So you can see the writing I have right here. That's hilarious. That's a testament, right? It's like half cursive, left-handed, and, you know, what is this?
Oh, you're a lefty?
Yeah.
Cool.
So, but the 7, you know, I thought it was important because I really started it because I needed a way to make legal what I was doing. So anything you see on here is something that's been done. I'm not trying to make happen. So in NFL, when I have NFL training camp or NFL combine camp up there, it's because we did one and we finished top 5 and we got drafted.
Right. Not a suggestion based on idea, but a experience-based opportunity, right? It's like
I want to do this again.
Yeah,
you know, and it's big money in it. Mm-hmm. So a lot of what you're seeing, everybody's seeing failure maybe, because I know anybody who follows me right now, they know it's like, man. But we have a saying. There's no, like, for example, you know, I brought my athlete out to California for a fight. You know, I had my whole community in Long Beach at that fight, and the person who beat us, you know, beat us in a way that wasn't supposed to happen. You know, we took one and took a solid lesson, and it was a lesson in how to, you know, there's aspects where I failed as a trainer in the camp. And because when you're live and you land and they're there to fight, every detail you make is whether this is going to bleed the energy or gain it. Mm-hmm. And you don't always know.
Single focus point.
That's what the word optimization comes from. So you're optimizing. I'm not like, that's why I work with teams. So if you've got a group of trainers, well, then I come and act as a liaison to make sure, well, what are they coaching you in? Mm-hmm. I'm representing you. These people are representing their bank accounts and what you give to them. Mm-hmm. I haven't made any money with you yet. And here I am talking to you about, like, okay, are they running you? What's your strength program? Like, what is it designed? Is it an activator, or are they assessing you correctly? You know, a lot of things. And you get into these little micro groups. Sport performance is brand new, man. Mm-hmm. My health and wellness company 5 years ago, you know, I'll be honest, I got ahead of the game in aspects to where I felt alone because, you know, growing up in this town, I'm molded by who I saw. So when you see these community movers starting gyms, starting meal preps, starting things that are beautiful, it's like, I want to do that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do it. Like, that's the thing. It's like, I should be better than every one of you in this town because I learned from you and you guys interacted with me.
Yeah. It's like that's what progress is, right?
Right.
Like, I think I said this on the podcast with DJ A-Rock, but like standing on the shoulders of giants, like you're standing on the shoulders of everybody before you that has got. I mean, if you like zoom it out even farther, like societally, right? The fact that we have like the internet with fucking smartphones and it's just like there are so many people that it took to get us here. For sure, it's a good acknowledgement.
Well, A-Rock, I can remember back to a memory. You got every community. What's more like the inspiration? What's 740U? It is the 740U area code. Anyone who comes to this university in the bridge gap of townie, and let's talk about real townie here because that word's being thrown around a lot.
Townie and local, the difference.
I'm a pure blood, green blood townie from Oblenus. And you got a lot of people who move and stay, and it's like. I didn't really even get involved in this until I saw people starting to throw it around during the boom because everybody wanted in on that, And
2010
it's like, hey, where were y'all 10 years ago? And now we talk about, I think I mentioned it earlier where there was a time when everybody was analyzing, bro, and I was part of a very small group that was like, this is Division I talent. Probably up until about that mid-grade sophomore year. Even junior year, they were dogging it a little bit. His high school, about like true, like I meant, like, no, he's good enough to go, like, Big Ten. Like, I've seen this. Because when my football officiating career is I did all the local stuff, but on my Friday night, I'm going to Columbus. I'm going to Cincinnati.
To your point, Monday to Monday, 5
But Friday,
teams,
baby, I'm on the best crew in Ohio.
Yeah.
My mentors in the officiating.
Yeah. In the Big Ten.
Strength of schedule, and, I'll toot my horn here. And this is something I don't know if it's ever been done, but my first year playoff eligible as an official, I got selected for a state final, 2018. And during that process, sorry for hitting the mic.
No,
during that process, how it works is, 7 crews get selected. So they're analyzing, they're judging, you're getting scouted, you're getting looked at and getting voted on. And I had a flawless performance, and I'll say that first before we get into it, because you get analyzed by the best. So I got selected crew 2. So when you get selected to do a state football championship, you now have 5 games in the playoffs all the way up to build with your crew.
Oh, okay.
So this is kind of a new orchestration that they've done. So, you work with your Friday crew for 10 games. And then when it comes time, you get divvied up and put into the playoff contention.
But you're saying it's the entire team. Like you travel as a unit, so
for
you
10
plan,
games.
Yeah.
And then you get put on a playoff crew.
Okay, yeah.
That playoff crew, we go do games. So on that state championship, I did the D2 state final too. I did the Division I regional.
Wow.
So that's where I saw like Archbishop Hoban versus Lakewood, or you see my state championship game was Wyoming versus Girard. My Division I region was Pick Central, Hilliard Davidson.
Okay.
And then, you're in the area. So every year I did, like Wheelersburg, Waverly, and so my crew was heavy down the river that way into Cincinnati. And that always gave me a perspective change. I get out of the area and I come back. So I see these other kids that are actually higher than Burrow at the time. I'm like, not even close. A lot of people say like it was random, but you shouldn't be coy to the fact that when you grow up on a Division I college football field, you're going to have aspects to things. You're going to have resources. Your dad's main job is beating quarterbacks. So what's he putting into you? How to beat me. And you see that. The decision speed and what he does is what makes him ahead of the game.
Yeah. It makes sense. Football family, brothers played collegiate football, right? Like dad. I mean, it's like they bleed football.
You learn. What's funny is you go into LA, right? Football is not the biggest thing, right? So this is kind of a weird Ohio thing, and we all kind of need to realize we're kind of crazy, and people look at us that way. It's like no one cares about football as much as we do. Yeah. You got to understand that. We overcare, and we care more than we think. And however you're talking to someone, they don't care as much. Yeah. Because like when you're out, like Long Beach, where I was out, Long Beach. They just won the national championship in volleyball. Because everywhere you go is just strips for miles of people practicing volleyball. So and they got Olympics, they've got swimming, they've got soccer, they've got everything. So Ohio though, and that's where we can kind of jump into kind of like where like the football kind of, because Ohio football and boxing are like epicenters here. And we can kind of get into how Athens is an epicenter of martial arts too. So how this all kind of ties into boxing now, because boxing and I never expected to be in boxing. I'll be honest. I I thought I'd be training NFL athletes, with my own gym somewhere, involved or working with OU or, but like when I was in college playing, I was at Wright State and I'd made the decision at Wright State. I wanted to come home, tell nobody, and walk on. So I didn't tell anybody. I showed up to the tryout, put down the numbers, and made the team.
Nice.
No parents' money, none of that. A lot of people's different scenarios go which way.
Uh-huh.
We didn't get 6 years, 7 years, 8 years that people get now, and I think a lot of people will mistake like truth and analyzation, like what you want to be, for offense. It's like when you put on the helmet, and it's like high school and the careers and all that, but when you cross the bridge, like I got 2 young athletes I train that are being recruited, to play football in the next level. And it's very important that as soon as they end high school, look, what you're getting involved in is very cutthroat, very dangerous, very business oriented. And
which is not like what it was before, where it's like we are a team, we are a varsity athlete team that is trying to, accomplish this one goal. We're trying to win.
You don't have fans in high school. You have parents. You have fans in college.
Yeah.
You have people who have money now. Now with the NIL and all that, this is in sports betting and, like.
It got different fast.
Well, people are trying to be investment firms now with their bets because, it is a safer bet than like going to Vegas. But in the end, you're still gambling and you should probably stop. And your wife or whoever loves you should probably wants you to quit.
Yeah. That's funny.
But, I think you see all this stuff that a lot of it I wouldn't have done if you just, had like, harmony in home. Because we could talk about the Athens, there's no doubt that this town does not hesitate in selling alcoholism.
Mm-hmm.
And it needs to be talked about because I have relationships with people where I know, people come to me and where I've been involved in, I've saved people's lives in this town because of what they've done. And I know how they get, when you work in that bar scene, you truly see how someone's willing to act and get gone. And, and then you see the repercussions and you see all that. You're driving home, and you just want to kind of realize that that's one of a kind in this town. Like when you go to other places, people don't drink like this. Yeah. People don't do this. And especially what's sad is, even the students here are here to do it. I really think that the community loses out the most because it's just so there, especially down in the summer. I mean, coming back from LA now, I don't know, there's people in the town, but people need to really wake up to see that the homeless tick is not, that's happening in this town is by design. That's like, you can't just let this stuff happen or it will continue to grow. Like there are people just walking the streets, doing nothing, selling drugs.
Dude, there's just one guy, whatever, red coat guy, who it was. But I left in 21 to go to Cleveland, and then I came back in 23, and I was just driving uptown, and I saw a red coat guy. Dude, just 2 years later, completely forgot about him, and I was like, holy shit, dude, you're still here. Yeah.
There's an underbelly to this town that everybody wants to hide and all that. It's as a true voice, I have a duty, I have a clean conscience now. I have a newfound respect towards things. And, this drinking and drugging and ruin things is just old news, guys. And that's just kind of where we're at. And if you're kind of a part of that, then I kind of just see you as competition for what the true people in the town are doing, like beautiful things like having conversations and vibrating. Now, I'm not against going and having drinks and stuff. I just personally don't drink at all. Mm-hmm. And I think it's very important that as I take on this newfound respect of, what this company is really doing and what my partners and I are doing, we're actually really, truly, we really want to try to decrease homicide rates with sports. I'm on a God mission. You guys can have all the money. Yeah. You can have all the fancy cars. You can have the objects because in the end, I know how you really feel. I know you're not happy. Yeah. I know you're sad because it's just a dopamine release, man. And what you want to have is the things that are beautiful that create regenerational energy, which is this podcast, community. Stop keyboard warrior and talk. Because this is the thing, I was a philosopher. So when everybody turned online to start arguing, I talk to you online the same way you will get me in person. Yeah. So if you want to, and this comes back to umping and all that, it's I know the rule book. I know the mechanics. And sometimes, when you jump from, say, a 10th grade game to an 8th grade game, the 8th grade, they come in with the high energy. And it's just, what is this energy of you think you can make me feel scared. You think you want to try to make me feel threatened by you? Like, I'm umping. And I fight people for fun, and we're good at it. And you don't want to be that. But at that time in my life, you're like, please, dude, because I know where you're going to be drinking later. Because it's just like, it's okay to be up about the call and all that, but there's clear rules. Like, one of the main rules in baseball, I'm pretty sure it's on the first page, I think, is you cannot argue judgment calls. Yeah. So what's a judgment call? Strike and out. Where do you see the biggest uproars at? Strikes and out. So that's and I want that to say that I'm talking about the 10% here. Yeah. You know, it's 90% good. You know, 90% of the time I showed up, you know, you shake prominent member. I don't want to say any names on this, but everybody knows who I am. And, you know, they're probably sitting there like, man, don't talk about that. Don't talk. Because it's like anybody who's against me was once my friend. Mm-hmm. And they betrayed me to a point where, you know, I've forgiven you, but I won't forget. There is no room for you on my team and my table. Mm-hmm. And those people know who they are. And if you hear this, I would like you to know that. Don't even come back. Don't try. It's over. Yeah, what we're building here is beautiful, and my team is set, and the people are known because they talk to me every day, and we talk every day. I talk to Youngstown every day. I talk to Cincinnati every day. I talk to Columbus. I talk to I talk to Toledo. Cool. This is a very intricate network, you know, and it's coming to Athens. I thought I was going to do it in Long Beach, but, you know, it's like I tried to do stuff here once, and you kind of want to – I just want to be collaborative because everybody who truly knows me knows that we have a good time. Yeah, we do good things.
It is I never thought of it that way, but it kind of makes sense in a town this small. Like when you do have a couple of jiu-jitsu studios like that, maybe that I could see how that could be.
Well, here's the thing:
conducive to collaboration.
You can find out who's better in this world, and that school right now is tapping, you know, people out. Yeah. And when you're a local school and you're not, you're gonna feel a certain way. Yeah. You know, that's a good. He's got a very strong business.
You're talking about Carlos.
Yeah, Carlos is a great man and someone
retired police officer, right? So I'm
someone
steward
who
of the community.
With, you know, I've beefed, and then it was like taught into me. You know, like, and then you realize that other people's cowardice and other people's. They're trying to mold that into me because
project it onto you. Kind of with like what you mentioned earlier about the like somebody will see you doing something and then kind of like just start stigmatizing and labeling like this thing, but it's really just a projection of their unhappiness that they aren't pursuing a goal that maybe they would fail at, right? So it's
Stuck
like
they're
taking that anger on like their discontentment with where they're at and then projecting that onto it's like how dare you try to reach out and do something.
No one calls me to tell me to do anything. I work with people. There's people in this town like that phone's ringing, dude. That rich man who's got you, he needs that done. So get off the podcast right now and go do it. That's how you're on. You're on a 9-to-5. You're not involved in this abundance lifestyle. Because this is the thing. It takes the hardest inner work I've ever done in my life to even get to a point where, you know, I can even talk about this stuff, to be honest. Because when you're betrayed by people that are close to you because they can't get off drugs and they want to choose drinking. And, you know, I've had my own family members cross me on business deals, you know. So it's just like, I don't trust anybody. Yeah. Because except when you truly give yourself to the architect, the creator, and you get out of this life. It wasn't until I stopped drinking and you get away from that lifestyle till you get to a point where you're not doing things for everybody else that you can kind of finally like open up and like tell your story the right way. Yeah. And, you know, it kind of comes back to, you know, what this involves. And, you know, just yesterday, you know, I had a session with a client that made me realize why I do what I do. Because as a trainer, and I learned this when I was out there, is you're a healer, but who heals the healer when you're hurt? You have to.
Yeah. So the work does more work on you than you do
Oh my
on
God,
the work?
dude. Well, the health industry, and we can talk about that, is everybody's doctor because they're just prescribing symptoms instead of, and I'm taught to treat root cause. So
Aaron or A-Rock was just talking about was talking about very similar things.
Wow. Well, I went to war against this town, to be honest, because during COVID, let's just talk about it, because I started a health and wellness company to save everybody, like to be a hero in a sense. And then all it did was get me called this and that and my accounts restricted and stop business, can't go in the park. wear this mask while you reffing. None of it made logical sense. And I have a really unique perspective on this because during that time, I didn't stop reffing.
Yeah.
Sports didn't stop. So I was going to Trimble. I was going to Nelsonville. I was going to Athens. I was going to and I got to see my own micro example of where the outbreaks were going, where they weren't. And nothing of it had, in the places with the most fear restrictions, it's like, why are those popping up more? Because it's like you're just defying the lives of the science that I know. I'm a sport performance physiologist, and I can go toe-to-toe with any doctor in this town that wants to. Let's live debate. Let's go. Because what you learn in the heart of the community of health and wellness is doctors are they don't know what to do anymore. They're sending people to trainers as their last resort. A lot of my work in Long Beach is in NDA, and if any of you are hearing this, all my clients in Long Beach, thank you so much. You mean so much to me, but because they opened up, their doctors said, you're basically dead. Because physical inactivity is a disease now. When you don't light your body up, it coagulates. And they're finding out that everybody's and loves this long zone 2 training. That doesn't build muscle. So, and it ends up harming you more. You want to get 10 to 15 minutes going, So like my boxing, and that's why boxing is great because it lights the body up, and you really can't do it for a longer period of time than you think. So that's what builds the muscle, right? So and I didn't expect this, but getting involved in health and wellness, you became much like the beautiful part of this podcast. It's the only thing that really we're true centrist negotiations of things where, you have someone willing to be just the medium of real conversations like yourself. It takes so much courage, and that's what I mean. Like when you see someone, like somebody I could start that podcast. It's like, well, you didn't, and you haven't yet.
Yeah.
So give respect where it's respect. Quit hiding behind that soft ego, because and that's where it comes back to the ref. Like I came as a person from Sam's and all that, and when you go to those gyms,
Sam's gym.
Yeah, just like any gym. I've got my headquarters are in Tampa, Florida. Zapata, Texas, Los Angeles, Long Beach, up into the greater part of it, because Los Angeles is huge, but I've got gyms everywhere.
I was actually born in Ventura.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I came to Athens when I was 2 years old, though. No way. I rep Athens. I don't claim California.
So I'm gonna set it right here. The only people that can deem townie status to anybody is always Athens and Zane Summers, because he's been here since 2, and I've got the blood right of it. All y'all just been here and you came to school, and I love you for it. But come on now, let's just call it what it is.
That's funny. Yeah.
So, and that's out of love. And I think that's important to realize that in a community, you're supposed to I grew up, what I mean is in philosophy, all we did was argue respectfully. It's argumentation. And where we lost that was let's have this conversation between keyboards. You're just not there. I'm not looking you in the eye.
It's kind of psychotic too,
Yes,
to just be able to be to say the things, because it's like you want it, right? And then I think that's where a lot of anxiety comes from, at least for me, is the separation between that, because it's you start to become a slave to this a person that you're trying to portray, and the farther that gets away from what you really are, it's you just have this fucking war. And so then it's that's kind of why I got off social media after college, because I was fucking let's just figure out, kind of left Athens, right? So it was I was in a town where I didn't know anybody.
Where'd you go?
Cleveland.
Okay,
I lived
cool.
in downtown Cleveland, but just the kind of figuring,
shout out Cleveland.
Yeah, Coach Adams would always talk about this, who are you when no one's watching? What are you going to do when no one's watching? Because that's who you're going to be with for the rest of your life.
Well, he's someone who I highly respect too, because I respect anybody who's willing to put their name out there and make decisions, because no matter what, you're going to make a wrong one. So when you're a coach and you do these things, and Adams, he got a lot of criticism for whatever and a lot of love, and that just means you're in the right position.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
That's respect is earned. We still say that. That's an 09 saying that when he came in, respect is earned. And the class before me was some of the most slop, all they wanted to do was drink and party, drink and party, drink and party. And it's
that's kind of because that's you brought this up.
They were so bad that all they did was disassociate into alcohol and drink. Yeah, And
I know kids. Wow, maybe I should.
You're gonna be great at OU at that.
Never mind. I'm gonna not talk about that. But shit was going on in high school that for sure you'd be like, that's happening.
Yeah.
it's just it's wild. But fucking young and invincible, man.
Well,
fucking like, cause it's just, it was, you could go uptown, you know what I mean? I saw people vomiting at 2 p.m. like fucking green beer on the sidewalk, and then you have to have your conversation with your mom like in 7th grade. Hey, like, what's up with this? Why? You know what I mean? It's like, so it is like. And then that's like the start of it, and you're so young and so impressionable, and it's like cool. Like the college kids are cool, you know. They look like fucking full-grown adults, and so it's just like this perception thing is. And then for sure, you have like the people that live on the west side of Athens that, you know, like, God, I heard of girls like, you know, sophomore, junior year going to fucking Dave raves, and you're just like, oh my God.
Well, it's the underbelly, man.
Like so it's just like that shit probably doesn't happen at
that
Fed
stuff
Hawk,
leads to
right?
rapes. That stuff leads to domestic violence. So it's like, I know there's been sisters that I know, like working with people, bar managers and stuff. It gets weird when you start crossing lines with alcohol and love and aspiration. So
it's dangerous.
It's dangerous.
But to your point, I'm glad that you acknowledge that. It's just like, you're not saying it's not okay to have a drink or whatever. It's like moderation is important.
You drink until 4 a.m. for
fucking nothing good has happened after 10 p.m. Go the fuck, you know, go home, man.
What we
go
doing?
home.
And you know, the other part about it is I tried to be a sober bar worker too, where you're there till and you're closing till 6 a.m.
Yeah.
That didn't go for anybody either. And I'll be honest, I've tested the limits on what the body can do, because I would do the door and then go umpire at Sandlot at 9 a.m. So I would get off work at like 5 a.m. I'm not drunk. I don't drink, you know, but you're tired. And then, you know, and then you come to a whole day of Sandlot. Yeah. And then, you know, you realize that that's just me, like, putting myself through stuff that I probably shouldn't do, because a day at, like, the Sandlot where there's no drinking is, you know, euphoric. You know, I see all my people from everybody I go and see, they come see me. You know, I've got a lot of hilarious relationships with just like random people from every town, because, you know, I've done 8 to 8 p.m. on their court for them, you know, or their field or their football field. And that's why I think it's important to realize that the world is trying to make you a consumer. And as a town of what we are, you know, you want to be careful to not get caught up in that, because we're a town of producers. Look at everything we're doing. You know, you're content creators. Even the Paul brothers got their start on Court Street.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Through Vine videos.
Yeah, Logan Paul was.
So I mean, you know, they turned that Vine, and we can spin this into boxing, because, you know, it's fun, because I'd like to just kind of like, my boxing story is a good one, because it's basically me going from being involved with NFL aspirations and getting into that, because basically to become a trainer in the NFL, you have to be around somebody that makes it. You're not just going to get welcomed into some truth. So like you see like Dak, you know, Joe reinvests that back because why? It works. You know, NFL player come back, you know, and then like there's even aspects of that, like where when you're in the top mind of sport performance, like you can disagree about things that are so semantical that it's professional talk. Yeah. But that's never like hate and envy, you know. And I think anybody that does anything from Athens, I want you to know that the person who supports you most is Zane Summers from 742 LLC. Like, you know, like we say, we're almost psychotic with how much we love being from Ohio. And there's like memes out there. It's like nobody does this, you know.
And or like OU people. Yeah. Like, OU.
So like even in Long Beach, you know, I met a Bobcat, big time Bobcat in the world. You know, he was one of my clients and best friends to this day, you know, picking me up in his Porsche out in Long Beach, taking me around. And he's a Bobcat, you know, cool. And we got paired randomly.
The CEO of Nike is a Bobcat.
So, like, that's what I kind of want to promote here is like, look at what people are becoming from here. Mm-hmm. This is a magical area. It's the first university ever built in Ohio.
Yeah, 1804. Yeah.
You know, you got beautiful buildings that are still standing today. Yeah. And the architects, everything about that was rooted off, the story of Athens starts with a man, you know, kind of ending his Revolutionary War campaign.
No, so you mentioned this like before the podcast started, like for sure. Go all the info you have on that.
Okay, so you know, as a person from Athens, I'm I love this city and community more than I probably should. Yeah, okay. I don't think that's bad, but. The story of Athens and how it starts is, you know, a Revolutionary War here. There was a big community down in Marietta.
Okay. And kind of makes sense right off the river.
And they decided to come up and establish. And his name was Silas Bingham. And he was a Revolutionary War hero. And he popped up and just starts this town. And due to his major connections from that, he was able to actually like reach into like, you know, I don't know, like send the message on the horse and get things and contracts to actually come here. And
So he was like a network that brought everyone here. Yeah.
And there's even like you read the old histories. There's even like a little story about how like the university got built on the wrong plot of land. It was supposed to be in the plains because this was a floodplain. And then this floods, and then they got to reroute the river all the way.
I heard about I knew the OU rerouted the river.
Yeah, because this place, my parents have been here in this town since my dad got off college football in '79.
Wow.
So,
to me, 45 years.
and then we did that. My dad was involved as a coach in the programs and all that, and then you just get into other things, and my dad coached Kevin at Athens High School.
Way.
Yeah, so my dad was an Athens High School coach.
Hell yeah.
And he brought like a really strict discipline that I don't think the town was ready for.
Okay.
And we can kind of talk about it because I am not ashamed to talk about anything that people have done and made the decision on me and what I am. Because like when you're deciding to do things, it just kind of comes down to like that person or that person, right?
Yeah.
So then you're kind of like, okay, well you made that decision, that's fine. So let's just kind of move from there and move on. So that kind of just deep roots me into the story of Athens and tying it into that and being a person who knows the history of it so that we can, it's lineage. Like I work with one of the athletes on my company is Clark Gracie. His grandfather.
Gracie, the Gracies?
His grandfather, 6 years ago, we were, a lot of people, I come out with stuff, and I don't know, maybe they don't believe me, but it's like, anything you've seen, I don't lie to people because there's no reason. And, Clark is a great business partner and he helps me. One, I learned a lot about my mentality. One of his main sayings is be so strong that nothing takes your peace. And that comes from this lineage. So his grandfather is one of the original founders.
Yeah.
His dad is who brought jiu-jitsu to the United States, Carly Gracie. So, lineages mean a lot because Sam's Gym is the oldest boxing gym in North America. So what I want to is because as social media comes along is you got a lot of these people coming into this game and stuff and acting like they're like the first person to ever do it. No, you're the first person to get your camera out and record it. The guys that I rock with in Sam's are champions from a time of no rules fighting, bare knuckle, bondo, all these things.
Talking about the Wild West,
Well, and this is the thing is it sounds scary, but when you go in there, these are the most disciplined men in your life because
that's probably because they understand what the fucking consequences of violence. Like
so when
yes,
you just hit it. When I was on the football team and you're grouped up 20 deep and you're getting into that stuff, that's when someone dies because someone hits their head on a parking cone or a parking meter. That bar outside the stuff, and I'm saying this to anybody, if you're fighting in the bars and stuff, you are a coward. You're the biggest coward in the town. If you're trying to start stuff up there, because the real men are in the gyms training sober. If you want to be a fighter, go to One Academy at 12 o'clock on Saturday. Sober.
Yeah, dude, not a 110-pound girl whip your ass.
Not 12 o'clock, 12 a.m.
At
the pub when you want to run up on a guy when he's with his girls and stuff. Because, it's such cowardice.
It's great.
It's so cowardly. And you're going to kill someone and then deal with the repercussions. And now you're going to be in all your black saying sorry on Monday in front of the judge or your oranges, and call them because look, people on my boxing roster have suffered true homicides. These are people from areas of which you watch on Netflix, and they've suffered true loss. So when you're around those people and you see that discipline, that's when going to Sam's and you get torn up by a 19-year-old.
Yeah. I would love for you to talk more about Sam's.
Yeah,
as well.
no, we will. Sam's is one of my major mentors because here's the thing: Sam's branches out. So let's just talk about that. So how this all kind of gets involved is Sam's Gym gets started and it becomes the first because Sam's dad and someone up his family line, someone can cross-check that, decide because there's a coal mining town. So you'd have disagreements under. And if you get in a fight under there, you can slip the whole land and kill everybody. So you had to hold on to that disagreement.
Holy shit.
And then when the elevator would come up, you would square it, you would circle it up and settle it. Well, his dad, it was getting very bloody and all that. So his dad, it's like really, I mean, this is promotional. Like, it's like.
I'm getting goosebumps. This is great.
Yeah, no. So that he decides to start this room where, all right, I'm going to help people so it's more aesthetic. It's not as bloody. It's and then you have Sam's Gym start. Well, Sam's Gym was started next to a bar and stuff. So, you know, on the main strip of Gloucester, you know, you don't just roll into Gloucester. You know what I mean? Maybe I can because I'm, you know, me and the Tomcats, we cool. And I've done a lot of time over in the Tomcats. A lot of Athens with, you know, that's the thing. I'm beloved in a lot of communities because I've been involved in arguments with people and we've come out of it. It's like, hey, dude, this is 8th grade baseball. You want to like chill? Like, man, my bad. You know, like things like that. But. And when I got involved with Sam's, I always loved going down there because Sam is so instrumental in that community. And that's who I model who I am. You know, that's who helped me. But through that, I've met a lot of other coaches. So one of my other main mentors is Jeff Russell out of Logan, who trained under Sam. So Sam goes through this whole reign under that gym where, you know, he fights at Madison Square Garden for... This is where you get into the talks of prize fighting because you can have people who are 20 and 6 and they're $40,000 in debt and you know they're getting like $3,000 checks for the fight but they're doing a merch deal or something where other prize fighters come in on the other side often might get paid more with less attachments and you go for the upset because you're not being pushed by the promoter. So like for example, Sam took Brian Kamichis from Logan to Mexico City to fight Canelo, I think in 2014.
Whoa.
So it's really not that long ago, right?
Yeah.
So boxers, you know, but back to what a main mentor in my life who's I owe a lot to is Jeff Russell and Logan because, you know, these people help shape your mind because you realize like, wow, I am a coward thinking I can just go uptown and do this and that. And especially when alcohol is involved because I think it's the last time you should get in an altercation where you're risking your face. Yeah. Because that's the thing. Like, all it takes is a tap to cause some blue on the eye, you know? So there are places where you can go get that anger out. And what I found is all those people in the bar, they're too scared to go.
You're right.
Like, my thing became when I was umping, I'd be like, look, dude, let's have the agreement. But the second you try to make it about, like, fighting me and stuff and making me feel scared, like, I'm going to come around that thing. And it's like, please, we're going to go viral, dude. I'm going to have some fun because you're going to give me, but then you realize I'm being weak and even having that thought. So you're like,
it's a good, you know, there's a couple times that you've said some shit that you have to be extremely self-aware to understand, you know.
You're only self-aware going through loss through the mistake. So that's why it's important being who I am. Like I'm done being people's example. Yeah. I'm trying to get mine now. And I appreciate you saying that because it gives you a voice to resonate, and it gives you you're giving me a platform to vibrate because as a quiet man, I let people control narratives. Because if you're even saying a narrative, then I know we started out as friends. You know what I mean? So when you try to break away from that, you don't have time to do all that stuff anymore, which is just low vibrational. And you're just opening yourself up for misery, pain, you know, and
those same low vibrations that you're accepting.
And then you go into Sam's Gym and it's just high vibrations, you know, champions outside of the ring, champions in the ring. And then you learn the lineage of it with a guy named Mung Ji. Cause I think, Bondo is a very big prominent thing in the area and it combines because
Bondo is.
So Bondo is a very, 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 remember, I can speak about it in a way because I'm around it, but there's a lot of like, this is a group that means a lot to a lot of people. And
you don't want to like misrepresent it?
No.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a survival system. Gotcha. It's like you don't go learn that stuff and talk about it because it's like someone in your kitchen stuff trying to take something from you.
Like extreme violence.
So to practice that, you're at high risk. Yeah. And it involves weapons and things like that. So it's a Burmese combative military survival system that when he came to Ohio University to teach. So when he gets out of war and all that, he comes here to teach at Ohio University. He meets Sam, and those gyms combine. Mung Ji has taught a lot of my mentors. Another one is Anthony Johnson, who is just kind of a guy who was a product of all of them, and he was involved in MMA, involved in boxing, and when I got involved, because I just started with me just putting boxing pads on my bag and walking down Court Street, and anybody who wanted to hit mitts for free, it was called Mitt Meditation. Oh, it's free.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, just free stress relief. Let's get down because I wanted to learn how to do mitts, and That was like
So you did
12
it
years
to learn.
ago.
Yeah, that's sick.
And I worked with like 300 OU students, and because I did it for free. I never made a dime on that. I never wanted
Sweat
to profit.
equity, yeah.
Well, and you're doing stuff in ping, and there's like, I really respect the laws that are written.
Oh, that's what you mean by you had to start your company just to make it legal. Holy shit.
Yeah,
Okay,
because it's
no,
like
it makes
if
sense.
you can't just be running sessions in ping.
Yep, see that.
It's very meant for students.
Yeah.
So you
There's
can't
like
just be
the
running.
liability and shit. Yeah.
Well, they say this and that, but I'm more qualified, more over certified. I've been, I've applied for training jobs locally. They're going to call you overqualified because they're threatened of you because, that goes back to micro competition. I'm here to say I'm collaborative, and that mentality is where the consumer in the town loses. Because when you go into LA, everybody's collaborating behind the scenes. Two enemies will become private profiteers, and you're in their building.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, here, nah, we got to just eat our fish, and all of our fish are the 20,000 who come in and out, in and out, in and out. And during the summer, man, it's scarce.
Yeah.
And if
Feast
you're
of
not from a family that
yeah.
can support a lot, I've seen so many businesses come and go. And I mean that because at some point you have to run the analytic of this town is not worth bringing a business to.
DJ A-Rock was talking about the struggles of, or one of the things he even turned around onto me was just like, what are you going to do when you tap this market? Like eventually, someday, you're going to run out of people to
and
talk
then
to
everybody
in
going
this
to
town,
start hating on you because you want to go do cruise ships and stuff. I love that stuff. A-Rock is an inspiration.
Yeah,
I mean,
A-Rock's
this town is entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And when we all become one based off, because someone said you ain't something.
Yeah.
But really, you just want to, it's everybody's dream to work for themselves in some way.
I could, get what you mean.
Like
by
if
that.
you're working for some group for 200, I know a lot of my friends who, this is what it comes into my life where I always chose health, and I'm a prime example. Like I know what I pull in a year and what I'm able to do with that. So when I see other people and they start making excuses, I was like, there is none, because I know what I'm able to do, and I know how much it is. I know how it just takes a lot more effort than you're willing to put in. And vulnerability. There is nothing more vulnerable than starting boxing. And I had a client start yesterday. It was vulnerable. But, oh my God, you get proud from it because it's like, that's what I'm meant here to do. I've got a purpose, and you help people through difficult times because I'm a sponge. It's getting it out. It's things. But the bigger thing is this town needs, and this is part of why I came for you and what I saw is it needs us to stop hiding in our houses, stop watching the stuff, turn that stuff off. Let's get back in this community together because I know what it was. I've grown up in here. I mean, it was beautiful at one point. I mean, there was a time when the whole Court Street was lit up, and maybe for good reason or not, but the whole baseball fields, and teams are leaving the league. I umpired a couple times down here. I had to stop. I can't go down there and do it because there was only me. You guys are over here crying about umps and all that, but there's only one umpire at Sandlot, and it's a kid, and you're yelling at him. And I had, you go into it again, and you're like, this hasn't changed. It's actually getting worse. It's 10 times worse because people are so filled with anxiety from the lives.
Like dealing with parents and shit?
Oh, God, dude.
I have only coached for 3 years, and maybe it's just different because when you're a kid looking up at like the parents and shit, but like certainly it is a lot different than what I expected from the parents. Like because it's like some of the parents get it and some don't. Like there are some parents that like they are the reason that their kid is missing like one practice a week and then like not going to make this. And it's like, wait, do you know what the fuck a team is about?
Right.
So that's just really hard because it's like, I don't know, you don't want to offend the parents, but also it's just like, hey, like you're not really helping your kid like understand that like what a fucking team is. It's just like
we deal with a tough age group too. That 8th grade group it's like where you're really trying, like right then you can kind of see who's
they're ornery enough to know better, but like dumb enough to not give a shit.
Well, I mean, you grow up at a middle school that's right off Court Street too, and it's like there's just that the 5 people you're around the most is who you become, no matter how you shape it. So if you're around no one, that's why people go into isolation because you become yourself. Whereas like, Alan, there's a time in LA, like you're a part of this. Like I worked for the one of the top brands in Long Beach, in Inglewood, and they're expanding, they're moving, they've got. I can come buy your land and make this a gym tomorrow. Money, it's a big movement.
It's cool.
and it's beautiful to be a part of. It's just sad to leave, but you see it that it showed me that I can land in any place and heal, and that's why I owe them a lot. And it's all love with them. And
it's beautiful.
I don't have any resentment with anything because all of that was such a learning lesson. Because a lot of people don't have the courage to test your love with the person that you've been with for 7 years to see if this will really work out. A lot of people are just like, let's leave it in the middle, in betweener stuff. So it's back to like what made me jump into boxing and stuff is just like it ties from the football. We worked with because that's when you get to see the gap open between NIL and money and because now college athletes are not amateur athletes.
Yeah.
So the first year eligible, I actually worked with a college wrestler, Mario Guillen. He's one of the state champ out of Perrysburg.
Nice.
I had just had my
Ohio?
So it went Clark Gracie. So it started with Blair. Then we work with Clark Gracie, still do, which is beautiful. Like Carlos has him. Carlos is a guy that outsources things, and it's beautiful because you want people like that mindset who aren't so strict into just what they do. It's like, come on in, try to tap me out, and a lot of those people don't go in there, and they hide behind whatever happened and all. So the same thing with Sam's. Okay. They take a picture every Monday. I just haven't been able to go. I've been busy on Monday or I'm working. But I miss going in there. But, they take a picture every Monday. You're not in there. Like we see.
Yeah.
So, and as a person in boxing, I have a big found responsibility now because I work with the World Boxing Council.
So that's the WBC in your profile.
Yeah. So
World Boxing Council. Okay.
Boxing has blown up to a point that I had to come home and sit with this. Yeah. And because, we're talking to the top companies in boxing. That's and awesome. A lot of people, they don't believe me or they want to get a certain way in that feeling and be like, well, and it's like, well, look, you can come join me right now and be with them if you want to get behind that. Or if you just want to have that in it, because the guys I roll with, we ain't rocking with that. We've got the team and we're set. So how this kind of spans is, after the NIL, you're doing this stuff in town. I just realized it was too hard with all the restrictions to boom a company. All I needed to do at the time, all you needed to do was set up my hydration station. And I started Ohio Hydration Station. And we wholesale all of, I've got over 10,000 brand connections to the 7-4 ULC. So maybe I'll just read off exactly what this is. We're a miscellaneous durable goods merchant wholesaler, agent and managers for artists, athletes, entertainers, other public figures. We have technical, other schools and instruction aspect. We have sporting and recreation goods. We're a sport club. We're sport managers and promoters. We have sporting recreational camps, physical fitness instruction, allowed to be an agent or manager for businesses. We also wholesale apparel, beer, wine. I'm not getting into all that, but as you can see, once you become a wholesaler, you can just start applying for whatever you want. A lot of people hide behind that. It's like, you have an EIN, you're good to go. Yeah. And that's where I beauty. I didn't go to school for business. Yeah. I went to school
for
philosophy, and then you just start.
Yeah. DJ A-Rock, he was telecommunications major at OU, and then he started a business. And
that college life is tough too.
Yeah.
I feel bad for it because you're grinding, you're stressed out, you got all this work. Grad students are one of the most oppressed communities because you're at school for free, you're working, but everybody's robbing your ideas to use and make a real product.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm happy to be kind of the cross because you grow up as a community member, so you're touched to a lot of the country. Like Athens High School, you got farmer, how it is.
It's like, it's also, it's open enrollment. And so there are kids that are coming from other school systems, right? Like you can't, I don't know if it's the truth, but I don't think you can open enroll into Alexander, right? But somebody that lives in Alexander Township can open enroll to Athens. Yeah. And I remember that being a big issue for us because open enroll, if an athlete that was, maybe pretty good lived in not our district, right? They just kind of be like, oh, Athens is so good because they just open enroll all the good athletes.
We can talk about and when I go to do Archbishop Hoban and you're a D2 Catholic school and you guys are it's the best put together football team I've ever seen. They had a tight end going to Alabama. The running back I believe was Mr. Ohio later. I'm like, wow. Oh, so you guys can offer him a tuition to come and play here, and you're playing a public school, so that we always have that talk too.
For sure.
And I think that's, because, this company, when it's sport, we can work with a baseball player, a volleyball player, whatever. Because human locomotion and correcting biomechanics is its own kind of assessment art.
Yeah.
And, I work on a rate of assessing, and I'm a specialist in assessing tightness, weakness, or inactivated areas. And that can be a differentiation of variables per muscle group. So,
so can you give me an example?
Yeah. So like if I assess somebody and I run you through my assessment, this person could have a tight right quad, which is shutting off their right glute, causing sciatica, tilting the tip, but have a muscular left quad. It's all like if you're
compensating because the other one's fucked up.
It's infinite. It's infinite.
Man.
And that's per muscle group. So you assess each group very slowly, you find it, and then, because here's my and a very prominent mentor of mine is my Long Beach strength and conditioning mentor, who I highly value in my life. And, because he showed me a lot of my errors and my ways as a trainer. And when you have someone enter your life like that, it's beautiful, because, sometimes you're just like this big thing going on right now with NIL is the lawsuits are coming back on the trainers and for them not competing. Like, they get hurt. So then the money comes back on them.
Oh.
So this is where a lot of people...
you mean the athletes are suing the trainers because now they can't go get paid?
Well, trainers don't think they're doing that, but the workout they're prescribing to you could actually put you in a higher risk of injury.
Yeah.
So, if someone's telling you to just do... there is no reason to be back squatting.
Okay.
When are you ever like this in sport? Now, there's a reason to back squat if you're trying to do show muscle, but performance muscle is not show muscle. A lot of show muscle guys get into sport performance. Sport performance is locomotion with the variable of the human body and movement.
When you say functionality, like functional strength versus just I have big pecs and traps.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's I can put it I've been a 400-pound squatter, but it was in reverse technology. So the ball and socket going out, and it wasn't until, and that's what a lot of people do. And there's, a lot of people's businesses are designed around this. So, gospel of one thing or another, but, I know what I know. And you can kind of see how, if you just change it to a front squat, it's just more functional to the sport you're trying. So that's why everything is situational. A lot of programs are designed, hey, this is my program, everyone come do it. Mine is assess the individual, make a tailor-made custom program for you based on the assessment. And a lot of trainers have that power, by the way. It's not profitable.
It's just easier for them to make a template
shotgun, baby.
Time. Let me plug in your height and weight here. All right,
yeah, let me just work you out to max exhaustion. We got it done today. No, you just destroyed her hip and her right, patellar tendon, because she's, there's just certain things that it's there's just so much easier way to do that. And I think a lot of people are working out anxiety in the gym. And that's what I learned. And you're working out, you're coming in high on stimulants, anxiety, and argument from your, it's just everybody goes to the gym to be this I don't know.
Exert this energy that they don't know what to do with.
Yeah. So that's why boxing kind of helps, because it gives you a way to kind of do that. But, it's kind of tight. So I did commercial construction for a while, and that's kind of how I got to move into the United States.
Help me with the time frame here.
Yeah.
Though. So you were at OU, and then you did the construction thing?
So I'm at OU, one bad night uptown, got into an argument, threw a cash register off a wall, slammed the door. Well, that door hit somebody in the face. I had no idea. So, I got in a little trouble and had to go through 2 years probation with all that. So that situation, I had already been off the football team, because I walked on to the top linebacker class to ever come to Ohio. This is Blair Brown, Quentin Poling, the same class I walked to, he was a freshman. All these top names, and making that team over a 2-year period about killed me. And then all it did was get me involved in all the wrong things in life. And I should have just been in the study halls. All of that administration granted me with an opportunity, and I wasted it.
So even just that, acknowledging that, I hope this helps somebody. Like for you to even just have the fucking humility to like sit here and I mean, this is the third or fourth or fifth time on this podcast that you've admitted a mistake that you made and you're not pushing it. You didn't like blame anybody else. You're taking full fucking control of it. And that is so empowering. Like I hope that somebody can understand and hear what you're saying and acknowledge that, because I know that everybody listening at some point has denied like admitting something like you just did. And
you're
that's
waiting
like
for someone to come save you.
Yeah,
no one's coming, man.
Ever. Fucking ever. No one's coming to fucking
because
save
everybody
you.
needs to protect their own.
Fuck, dude, yes.
Like, you have to feed your child tomorrow.
Yeah,
if it came down to me and your kid, it's a pretty simple answer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so you're at OU. You walk on the football team.
Everything's
you leave
great.
the football team. This thing happens in Athens, and now
I'm rooming with the person. You know, now that's when I really start training.
Yeah.
Because out of loss, I'm like, I gotta keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm rooming with an NFL, prospect.
Yeah.
I'm hearing everything. We're cooking the meals, raising kids in town. He had a couple kids. So it's very deep family oriented. Probably you shouldn't be going through these family oriented things with anyone not your family. So it just became that, it's just, we hood in the woods over here. I'm not going to hide it. Like, we ain't trying to act like Athens is this beautiful, economic, prosperous place. There's real victims of growing up here.
For sure.
And I'm not going to be, and that's what I mean. Like, I'm going to come out and just be it because, when I walk in, people look down or they look up. So it's like,
Does that make you feel?
I hate it because I'm not aggressive. What I did have bad was really bad temper with reactions to how people did me wrong, and it might have over decibeled the initial
wave that started,
and that's the insecurity in me not knowing that, okay, you have like induced ADHD from growing up in survival your whole life. So like, if you're listening to this and you're growing and any part of your life feels like survival, you got to understand that you're in a state of mind of not abundance. You're not in a state of mind of, you're in a survival. So that's why your mind attaches to wanting to go out and stuff. And I just need a couple drinks this week.
Escape. You're just trying to escape the next 6 hours.
And
then you're doing that for the fucking rest of your life.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
I get excited about this stuff because if you work Monday through Friday and then you drink on Saturday, by Sunday, when Monday comes back around, when did you recover? And I'm as guilty as anybody. Guys, let me tell you something. If you looked at I'm 30, see how I am now. If you looked at my ID when I was 26, I looked 40. Because alcohol ages you. These things age you. And this is the 3 pillars for a long life. You have to have 8 hours of sleep a night. You have to drink clean water, and you have to get your protein intake. So all of that kind of messes up the system. You're up late, you're drinking. And that was like,
drinking also prohibits protein synthesis, which is like
exactly
counterproductive to even if you're
stores
eating protein.
Fat. And then let's not even get, and I'll stop it here and we'll keep going. But if you're on any prescription pills, this is the last thing you need to be putting in your body. And it's clearly on the label for a reason.
Yeah.
But people don't stop.
Yeah.
So that just keeps going. And you're just like, as a health person, you're just like, that's why I did so well in LA, because out there, I was in Belmont Shore. Every house around me was worth $1 million. It was $140 or is $100 and something a month to train there. And it's a Bugatti, people's right tires are more than my annual income. What they have an issue is, and we can learn from them, is they have open lines of credit, all this money, and they can't say no to anything. So when a guy from Appalachia, Ohio comes in and he's a trainer, I'm like, first person ever to tell me, you need to stop doing this. You need to stop going out and spending $5,000 on your work meetings that you feel. Because I've been involved with project managers who, a lot of those deals get closed for big money contracts, not at dinner. Because they want to be around people that they can come and land and drink with.
Yeah.
So I think we're all a little seduced by it. Because let me get you, drinking is a lot of fun. It's so much fun to be, and if we can kind of create something that brings people together without it, I think we would still get the fair exchange.
Yeah. Just asterisk that. The most fun, probably in moderation. A couple drinks, I got tipsy, but I also was able to get up at 7 a.m. the next day and not, feel like a bag of dicks.
There's medicinal aspects to alcohol. I mean, when it comes to breaking, because you got to remember, you're drinking it to become more open and talk.
Yeah,
so,
which it does. Like, that, without a doubt, right? Like, you feel more connected.
I think so many people date around it.
The boys are buzzing. What, you know what I mean?
Like, with me, like, I will not meet a woman drunk. Like, I'm not going out with you. I'm not going to get to know you around drinks. If you want to come into my life and be that, then we're going to meet probably at the library, or we're going to go on a walk, or to be honest, church. We're going to read the Bible together. Yeah. That's probably going to throw some people for some loops, but
fuck them.
As a philosopher, the Bible has been in my life ever since. Yeah. You just study it in a different aspect, but the words and you can kind of study it. It's a very accurate book, actually, towards occurrences. So you can actually look at, how the flood, whatever, but you can actually look at other docs and see that there was a flood during this time.
Yeah, so, for sure. Yeah,
so
all saying the same thing. It's same story, same root, kind of. Yeah.
So I'm just saying, for me, reading positive words helps. Yeah. Reading stories. So I'll read ancient scripts, literatures, but, that's just what I've done for myself. Yeah. And, I'm not here to talk to me 5 years ago. That would have been the last thing I say. But there's a lot more to that book than a lot of people want to give it to. Yeah. And there is peace in it. And you can read it as a non-Christian. You can read it as anything. It's a very important book historically, because what I've found is it has a lot of powerful words. Now, I'm not a Bible thumper or anything like that. It's just reading positive. And what I've learned from it, because I went into this scientifically to help. Reading positive words, ingesting positive words, instead of studying envy, jealousy, you're studying gratitude. Money's not the most important thing. So I think we all need to come, as a philosopher, I studied every religion to find the commonalities, and everyone kind of has this main story of things of how to act. And it all comes back to what you and I are talking about here, community. And we're not doing it enough. Yeah. We're doing it online. Now we're doing it with goggles. Yeah. Like, I can remember, how fun is it to play video games with your friends? To an unhealthy point. That ruins his relationship. Yeah. So it's like, you guys, I think what I just learned is the most is being, and this ties back to Sam, and I'll go on tangents, but everything is about a principal point. Mm-hmm. It's become a champion off the field first, meaning like, less motivation, more discipline. Yeah. And I needed to hear, because we're all a victim of sharing things that motivate. I think we have it tricks us like,
motivation's alone. Yeah, it's just you're borrowing.
We've got too much.
Yeah,
we've got too much. Yeah. And when you have too much of that, that's dangerous, because it hits. It makes you feel like you did it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like all the horsepower with zero traction. It's like you feel good. Like, dude, that even happened to me with this fucking podcast. Like, I signed the lease for it, and then just kind of slowly getting stuff in here, whatever. But just like pulling in the IKEA furniture, I was some sense of accomplishment. It's like, motherfucker, you got so far to go. You haven't even recorded it took me a month to record an episode. It took me another month to get the ball sack to post it. And so even just
those are the wins. Yeah, and I want you to know that everybody and if you of all people are going to get rid of that, because you've got the full power of everybody behind you to just become this, and it will profit. You should this is going to be, you're going to start charging people to be on this, because
not a chance, man.
I'm just saying, people want to come, everybody thinks they want this. Yeah. They want to be her. Yeah. And you see it in a projection of, we're all under this influence. Mm-hmm. And I think the situation of what we watched from OU all kind of got us. Mm-hmm. No offense to anybody, but if you were revolving your life around, you did that, that was making your effort around it. I like seeing that, but what did that do for yourself? Are you trying to get into the circle to try to just use them?
Like Aaron Burr. Have you ever seen Hamilton? Aaron Burr is the main antagonist in the play Hamilton. Oh, okay. It's basically this dude, he was a Democrat, but he flipped to a Republican because there was a Republican seat open. It's the moral of the story is that, Aaron Burr doesn't stand for anything. He just wants in the room where the decisions are made. Yep. And so he's just spiteful the whole movie, trying to get into the fucking room, and it's you don't even deserve to be in it. It's So we stand for something. Or
reminds me of something that like one of those sayings, like a person friends with everybody is friends with none. And, you know, like that's kind of what that just reminded me of. Because, and, you know, I think it's really important to really kind of elaborate on that, because if you're just, we see that a lot in Athens. Yeah. You know, you're scared.
Panders, drifters, grifters, like virtue signaling. Was that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, like, well, because like if you saw this where people were protecting their money because like during, you know, you should never put your identity into what you're selling, because in the end you're all just selling an item. Like the same Jameson at one bar is the same Jameson down the street.
Right.
So now you're choosing where to drink your Jameson based on what? Your identity.
Or an attachment to it. Yeah.
So now you're just around your own crew. Feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like them either. It's like, okay, that's not how it goes.
Yeah.
And you really need to start getting out and having conversations with people you disagree with. Like, we don't agree on everything. Yeah. I guarantee it. But
certainly,
I haven't found that yet. Because, you know, that's where I think is like, when
I'm an agreeable guy.
Well, when you get into this upper echelon, and I'm not saying money, upper echelon of, I guess it really just comes from truly being happy with yourself. Yeah. And you have to go through loss. But I've seen people who go through loss and they go the other way. Mm-hmm. And then the brain rewires itself. So like, say you go through loss. Like you told me you went through one. Mm-hmm. When you go through those memories, it's your body kind of splitting from them. So like when you go through loss, your neurological connections, this is what anxious attachment is. So an anxious attachment is what happens when essentially two half people meet. And
become codependent.
A narcissist and an anxious attacher will thrive in codependency for years, because you're so scared you're both just in fear. Like, you know, I'll be from, you know, financial stability is what I was attracted to. And then you see how much you're willing to like
sacrifice
yourself.
Yeah.
Become a half man. And then now you're becoming a half man to that woman. She deserves a full man. No matter what you do, you half out here. So that's kind of where, you know, you just cut it and just be like, you know, that's my family out in Long Beach, you know, and you don't want to do anything that kind of like, you know, there's two people that love each other, you know, two bobcats. So it's like, and this is a big part of relationships. Like if you guys are with each other and it is not harmonious, you need to start talking about leaving because
it's like some people would rather be together miserably than
addicted
alone,
to arguing.
Even more miserable. Yeah,
your body gets addicted to the adrenaline.
Wow,
and you're just stuck in it. And I've been in it with two different. And you just finally get to this point where it's like, you know, I think I'm just with you out of my own insecurity. So, and that's what, you know, here led me to this mic. So, and you deal with that kind of like, and how I learned to be this is through this sport of boxing and being around, you know, and we can just talk. So I manage a 135 pounder out of Zapata, Texas, border town. And I've flown down there. You know, I go see my guys. Yeah. You know, I manage Salar Galami. He's a number 25th ranked bridgerweight, and he's an Iranian refugee living in Canada fighting for democracy.
Wow.
So I represent Lamont Quartermon out of Akron. You know, we work together. I represent Victor Tony out of, you know, so what I'm saying is I'm involved in world politics. Like my athlete was just on the Iranian CNN.
That's crazy.
And I'm just like, what is like my feed? So my Instagram does like 300,000 views through my and I've got like 1,500. So it's kind of a hack, but that's only through the power of my collaboration. When I post my own stuff, I get like 3 likes and 10 views. But
likes don't matter.
It doesn't. Yeah. I love that meme that says like, man, you're over here mad. It's like, you imagine 200 people like in your room, like
you would feel a lot better. But I thought about that, like even just with the podcast, you know what I mean?
Feel it.
I thought about that too, but it'd be a lot different. Or even you just look at like the total hour streamed, and it's just like
I've learned about this.
Yeah.
So if you're really truly running a business, 8 followers who are truly interested in you is more money than 8,000.
Just
somewhere else.
Yeah, you know, that's a good point. I definitely feel that approach here with the podcast. Like like somebody was just like, oh, well, how long are they going to be? However long the conversation lasts. And they were like, well, you should probably keep them short. Like, not a lot of people are going to. And I would rather 3 people listen to a full 3 hours that they were engaged in than fucking like pander the entire conversation, the entire view of like who's going to come on the podcast just based on like who's going to fucking like make a good cut. Like, it's just that seems really toxic to me.
Well, the base root. Remember, podcasting got started with Tom Green, right? Tom Green show, and then Adam Curry. So Adam Curry started, and then Joe took the model of Tom Green on MTV, which Tom Green was. You should look into this. It's amazing because he ran like a telephone cable, like because he had he was like one of the first guys on MTV. So he took his money and started the Tom Green show, which is essentially the first podcast ever.
That's wicked.
Adam Curry was who he kind of got the idea. Joe talks about this. So then he goes and starts it off theirs. And I think this is what people should realize is you got a lot of people trying to do this because they see the money behind it. The heart of the biggest podcast in the world, Joe wrote, it was started off, it didn't make money for like 15 years or like 12 years or something like that. So it got started in just having conversations like this. I would like, there's no exchanges in here. So when there's an exchange, if you were paying me $100, I would feel like, like it just, it takes a certain mind to want to come do it's like it's the first way to see if you're really about what you just like claiming your brand is. Like
it's the other thing that like that I've like heard just about long form content. It's like you can hide for an hour, but you can't hide in hour 2. You can't hide in hour 3. So it's like, fuck it. Like that's kind of what got because I was like anxious about that. Like public figures, just whatever. Got off social media or like even coaching. Coaching middle school football.
Coaching anymore?
No, I am coaching.
Okay, great.
But just like being worried about the perception. It's like is some 7th grade mom is gonna come fucking listen to that episode with Coolville and just be like, who's this guy? And but it's just like
a good point.
Fuck it. I'll stand. I'll be okay. Right. Like just like I operate off of like one base. Like I don't have different. I mean, I may bring the energy up or down to like match the room, but like it's there's no difference to me right now than to me typing on a keyboard. It's like, and so if I could just stay if I could stay who the fuck I am, then whatever. Because it's like I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna say dumb shit. Like it's just. Who are you when no one is watching? Like talk like who the fuck's watching right now? It's like there's not an agenda. It's just like right here, right now. That's
how you react.
Yeah.
It's how you react, and it really truly is how you react. And like you said, what'd you just say again?
Basically, I was anxious about trying to start this, but it's like if I am who the fuck I am in every room ever, like if I'm just that guy all the time, if I'm the same one all the time, like what is there to be afraid of? Like I can answer to the person that I am because like it took me fucking 27. I'm still figuring it out, right? But it's just like as I release attachment to things that I believed were what my identity was, right? Just like I feel more comfort in just like, okay, yeah, I could just be who I am, and that's gonna, that's okay. That's enough. Like you don't need to be worried about like, somebody else's perception. Like it doesn't matter. Like right, like there could be 1,000 people out there in this field, all just thinking bad thoughts about me. What the fuck does that change right now in this room that they're not? So it's just like you just have that forever, and so. Yeah, I find that's what I said. Is like I find comfort in like being who I am. As long as I am that, I'm cool. I don't need anything else.
Stand on that because that's the thing. Like I was the same way with fishing. Like at some point, like with like back to Adam's conversation, like, and that's kind of where this goes to because there are aspects of who I am that is involved. Like my old me and that stuff, and I was a product of my environment, and when you made cannabis illegal in this town, the only thing at that time that made me feel peace, you made me a criminal. Yeah. Because I know, and then now everything coming out about it, and you see it, it's like my community made me a criminal. Mm-hmm. And as soon as that because I was out in Long Beach,
cannabis ordinance, taco.
Yeah. Well, I was always kind of a scared person like you because I knew behind the scenes that I'm a school, I'm reffing, but I use cannabis, man, and I love it. But you don't abuse it.
Yeah, and it's just like, the things that made me
People
feel
just think you're smoking and eating. And it's like, come on, like y'all drinking.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so much worse for you. But like, even just to like acknowledging things like that are the truth. That it's like not everybody should use cannabis. Like if you struggle with your mental health, it may not be good for you. You know, the main benefit that I get out of cannabis is like whatever it brings to me is like something that, you know, maybe I'm like subconsciously like not addressing it, or like I've had like some thought, but it's like I can't avoid it. Like when I use cannabis, it's like it brings.
We can go on a jog.
Yeah,
you're like, what do you guys like? You're really just coming at me like minimalist minded.
Totally, it's just a narrative.
Because it was
100% just a narrative.
It was propaganda, fear to them.
Yeah,
you know, they were telling people it was raping people, and like so the older people behind. I was like,
did they change the name, or like marijuana with like some derogatory like Mexican slang? Like
so. It's like those same, you know, there's like these same prominent people in town, like they crossed up and stuff, you know, they have their ideas on what they feel should, you know.
So again, they are somebody different in this room than they are in that room.
Yes.
Fuck you, bro.
Yeah,
Why don't you
dude.
just be who you are?
Come on.
Fucking stand on it.
That's like the teacher at the high school. He was actually grooming it. You know, I see him walking around here, and I tell him like, "You're not coming down my street." You know, like I let him know, like if you're a chomo and you're doing this sexual activity on younger people, like absolutely not. Like if you're coming. Like, this is the thing. I think everybody, you know, you're watching Netflix. There's all this gangster stuff online and narratives and all that. But it really just comes down to the primitive thing of what we are. That if you rape, steal, or anything, we are, you know, this is a tribe. So if you come at our kids and you're doing stuff like that, you're going to get the full weight of it. Mm-hmm. And everybody wants that. Yeah. Everybody buys that. You know, I work for Elite, you know, they put their identity in the corporation. I've been that too. You know, I signed a deal with, you know, my wholesale deal with Liquid IV. I thought I was Liquid IV, you know, and like, you know what I mean? And you're just like, in the end, it's just like, you're a reseller, you know, like you have a price point. Mm-hmm. It's like easy. Yeah. And you can become the brand. Like, when I was out and
you can attach your ego to like the identity of that, which is just a projection of it's like what you want to be, how you want to be perceived. But back to the perception thing, it's like it doesn't matter. Like those 1,000 people in the field, man, like that versus reality.
And that's kind of like what my aura is and why people work with me, because I'm not trying to be anything I'm not. A lot of people come in to boxing with money and try to be.
Yeah.
We don't. Everything you've seen with me and my company that anyone's seen, I'm not in debt with anybody. I haven't taken a loan out. Mm-hmm. I've gotten this off my own money.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And
how have you supported like launching this venture? Like you just like stuff here and there. Like,
well, here's the thing. It comes down to the point where you do need like 100 as a business and whatever. You do need $100,000 to be it. Yeah. So it's half it. But if I am ever it, you know, I'm in the content I could create is ridiculous. Yeah. And that's what's value now. And that's what I'm in, digital content creation, because that's how you sell sponsorships these days. And everybody wants their brand, because it's like you put your brand on one of my athletes, you're going to get like 1,000 free follows, you know, you're going to get that. Now, there's aspects to that though, because, you know, as the person who's done sponsorship deals, it doesn't always hit back for you, you know, like just giving, you know, you never see the behind the scenes on the numbers of what does for sales and what it doesn't, you know? So,
meaning like, so you may have like say a promo code for a specific supplement, but you're saying you never know how much like that specific code is being used?
I may send you like $1,000 of product, and because we're doing a sponsorship deal, and the whole idea is you're supposed to sell it, but it doesn't sell. Is that on me or you?
Yeah. I see.
But in the end, I came at you and you wanted to do, so it's like you learn and all that, but you know, like injuries, or not just even that, injury will happen. So then the event doesn't go down. Yeah. So then you lose out on contract. So that's what happened with boxing. You know, we had a top ranked fight. You know, I was flown in, and then you learn he's 10 pounds overweight, and it just causes this whole thing that now we're my group. We have to restructure, redo. So that's why, you know, beautiful shout out to Team Juju. You know, he's graduating high school today from Cincinnati. That's my newest signage. You know, we're keeping the Athens Cincinnati pipeline tight because, you know,
I'll actually be in Cincinnati tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Well, you good in there? We got you.
Nice.
So it's Dion Colvin of Real Fan Management, my partner and brother to this life. You know, and this is kind of what we're building with boxing, because there's a lot of really bad things about boxing.
What are the bad things about boxing?
Well, there's people who get involved just because they look at you like they look at it like this glass, right? The business of this glass, right? Someone made it, produced it, they get it at a sale to produce it, and then it's about getting it to the market to buy it so that we profit, right? Well,
you pay more than I pay.
Yeah,
Capitalism. Cool. Yeah.
Everything's cannabis deal. Everything, and that's where you really learn it as a kid. You didn't know it, but you're learning the base model of all business. So you're running a little small business. All of us were, through the hills and through the forest, just as kids, and I think that's kind of like where you just kind of have to realize like there are really bad things for people and there are good things. So a lot of people who are openly opinion, like they're going to come on and be like, oh, he was on that. And I've dealt with parents and all that. In the end, you just kind of got to be yourself. And that's kind of the spirit I took into boxing. So as a person who didn't box professionally, but I played football and got all the concussions. So to end that story, one day I decided to walk off the football team myself. And I said, I can't take this head damage. I was in class, like staring at stuff, like not being able to think. And like, I remember one day the bell went off and I was like, I just sat down, but I had gone through 50 minutes, but my time perception was off. So I walked in, at the time it was Coach Collins, he was a linebacker coach, and went through one more practice. And at the end, he was like, hey, coach, I'm done with this. Everything's slipping and I got to get out. So that's why, you see it, but you don't go through the end. You're not on graduation day like a lot of other guys have. So there are people who have walked on and really gone through the whole process. And that's why they above me on it, because you went through the whole thing. And but, there's been a lot of people from the area who have made that team and kind of, you suffer the townie curse a little bit. I think the Lermans just broke, actually. I think they're the first people to actually, play. Play and finish. There's been a lot of people, the bigger thing to me is finishing, because it's so hard to finish that. You have to have a lot of finances behind you.
Your collegiate career, your eligibility.
Yeah, stuff. Because I didn't have a meal plan. I'm at home. I became a financial burden on my family walking on. They're cooking my food, and it's already hard. So it's I had to make a decision. I can no longer, because you need it. They wouldn't give you a meal plan. Well, I don't have $3,000 to buy it. So now I'm prepping my own meals. I'm trying to play football. You're showing up, and I got a little special access. They let me all the walk-ons usually leave, but they let me train with the team. And, a couple things, like when I you transfer from Wright State to Ohio. I didn't play.
Wright State is in Dayton?
Yeah, I didn't even play football. But, I was scheduled, I had done a pretty good campaign. I was scheduled to start kickoff or, being thought about to get on it. Yeah. And that's the bridge in. So my junior year, I'm here. They gave me the black helmet. Nice, I'm on the home dress team. This town about to go crazy for me. I hadn't told really anybody yet. Yeah. And then they come to me and well, you transfer, because before the week of the game, they do one mass roster check to make sure no violations are going to happen.
Eligibility, because it's you can lose a fucking win if you put somebody on.
Especially for some walk, you don't want to do it. So apparently, and we all learned this as an administration. The football, you're just you don't ever I'm not, you're just somebody on the team. You don't ever want to be this thing, but you learn that since I went from D1 to D1, I technically had to sit a year. I didn't even play a sport.
Wow.
So they told me that a week, and it just kind of was So now I got to sit here to maybe have this, and it's just
fuck.
But really what it comes down to is you have to be 70% of your degree done to be on that. So that's a little thing. And there's a team GPA you have to have. So if you're one of those guys with a low GPA, bye, because they'd rather have some guy who never plays that keeps the team GPA high, because you lose scholarships if it drops below a certain point. So that's why a lot of the football team kids you see, it's I'm looking at him he's a GPA booster. He a kid's son. He got something. He a family kid's son. His dad's paying for everything. Everything cool and groovy.
It's how the sausage gets made.
Yeah. And in the end, and this is where I say, it's why are you involved in this war lifestyle? What do you keep continually living? Because playing college sports is war every day.
Yeah.
And that's why, when you finish and you graduate, kudos to you.
Yeah, shout out to the Lermans.
Yeah, Lermans, everybody, it's all friendly.
Brody Rogers,
Brody,
young kid.
Who's the other one? Who we got? Let's give
Jacob Coons.
Jacob Coons from Trimble.
Right? There was a kid, I feel like a Keegan something.
Keegan Wilburn from Nelsonville, I think, did some time on the team.
Yep, shout out. And then there were tons of other kids that maybe didn't go to like a D1 school, but just endless like kids. Another thing that I like to shout out is like just some of the girls from our grade. Like Dominique Dosek came and played basketball the fuck out at OU.
Yep.
Local girl. We had some people play volleyball in college. Like I think Olivia Harris went to maybe Tiffin University or something like this. We had like
they're all families and people I love and knowing you have all like that's why it's like really powerful.
Coulter Thompson, the kid who beat me out for that for that center spot sophomore year, he went and played football at Capital. Zakiah Saltzman went to Hoya. Trey Williams went to Northwestern. Dude,
so that's where you see like that's what I'm saying. Like it's all like as a community, you can't because let's not forget one of my favorite stories is out of Trimble. Kittle, who walked onto Ohio State as a corner. You see, like you see the outright, you see like the path you take because that kid's set up. Like you can say that kid's gonna run the world probably and whatever he does because it's like, look, he could. You didn't even look at him, but you can walk on to Ohio State, and you're kind of playing that in my head, like, well, they looked at him, but they didn't offer much, and you have that kind of aspect with OU and who they offer from the area and who they don't. They're very, very hesitant on offering scholarships to the area, and for probably good reason. I mean, I don't, when you can go to Columbia, when you're one of those minds and you can tap into any network, it's tough to just say, like, I'm going to give this kid $100,000. But, we have the kid from Jackson, I think, who kind of broke that.
Reagan, the kid who went to Stanford. I played against him.
Okay. I'm back. Yeah. When as a ref, you just see the variable. I don't know all the names.
You still probably got pretty good.
Yeah.
Alexis Zada was cool when she was track and field. I'm pretty sure she went and jumped at like Michigan University, like a fucking huge school.
See, all these are stories of like, and then this is where it gets tough because there's a time before the 2002s of like the Roushes from Megs who came up and played, and then you've got
Roushes.
Or no, that's Logan. See, I'm getting that.
What about the there is like a Megs NFL family though, right? Like the dude was a long snapper. It was like the Megs coach.
I know all these names.
Bartram.
Bartram.
There we go. Okay.
So that's what I mean, and I think it's important too to realize that when you grow up next to OU, it's one of the biggest sport industry schools in the nation. So like and entrepreneurial. So like sport. That's what people don't realize. Like sports mean so much to us here.
OU. I feel like OU sport support from the school kind of sucks though. Like I feel like not that many people were like amped up to go to shout out Peden Stadium over there go hang out at Peden Stadium or like fucking pack the convo. Like I feel like dude even I mean honestly my own experience like I probably went to like 5 games over.
I know.
Like how many years? I mean like as a kid I went to way more, but like as an actual college student. But part of the problem is that you just I got classes. Like I gotta be up at pub at 8 o'clock.
They gotta be good. And here's where OU's running into a problem is we can see that because because it all spins into what we do here and the NIL when that came down, I think people are really underestimating how bad it's gonna get here because.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, so for example, when NIL got popped in, that allowed who was at the time 1-9 Michigan, Eastern Michigan. Since that city has more production, someone came in and said, I'll pay $1 million someone can play quarterback here. Put my brand on that. We don't have anybody doing that here. It's going to take the bar owners. I've always make a joke, like all you bar owners and all that, you're going to have to come together and start.
Fuck.
Because otherwise, no one's going to come here anymore. What people did come here for was the woods, the parties, that. Like why, like when you're recruiting against, well, here's the real reason why people come to Ohio University is a charge or something happened and you were going to go to the Big Ten and, we're second chance for a lot of things. And then when you've got one of the only junior colleges, which I've officiated, the Hawks over there too.
Oh, shout out. Yeah, I went to Hawking because I didn't know what to do. Or I was like, what do I do?
So you've got that going and you're kind of just like, okay, this is a lot of football players in one area. I don't know how many Hawks have made the football team here. You'd like to see that kind of feed into each other. If I was a person at OU, I would have my hands all over that. But you just see these. I don't think people are too committed to come in here and staying for a long time and coaching.
Well, why would you anymore? There's kind of no incentive anymore. It's like the transfer portal is like, that's what they talk about. It's like with the transfer portal now.
Exactly. Well, it comes down to leverage. And it's like, guys, now that football is directly related to what your community is, I have to make the best decision for me and my family, and I can't coach here because I can't even recruit what I need. It's a testament to how it's essentially the Burrow dynasty still. It just left, right? Because all of that family.
Well, it's more than Burrow. The Solich,
Well, what I'm
Alvin,
saying
because
is
Alvin's not there, Solich isn't. Like
all
those
of that
three.
is connected.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
they came because it's very rare to be a college coach and stay in a town as long as those people got there.
I think Albin, Burrow, like O coordinator, head coach, D coordinator. I'm pretty sure those three have one of the longest standing like coaching careers like of any university in the country.
Let's come back to always Athens. It comes back to
Always
because
Athens,
people the lives they lived before here. You come here and you're just like. Especially if you're on a salary as a coach, man, this place is fun, I bet. Because, you got a lot of money for some things, and, everybody treats you like royalty where you go. And
it's like everybody knows you. You're a fucking public figure. You can't go to Gigi's anymore.
No, no more Gigi's. And it's like, but, I'm with you now. Like, the only thing we had that was like and we should do everything. I'm damn near just about to offer Jeff Bowles the head fucking coaching job, too, because it's like, the power of recruiting, what that means, and we need to hold on to him, whatever we do here, because his ability.
I would love to get Jeff Bowles on the pod. Dude. I'm going to put that in the universe. Jeff Bowles, you're going to be on the pod.
Yeah, Jeff Bowles. He follows me on Instagram.
Nice. I'll tell you a story after the pod.
I love, Jeff. I love him because he's a former Bobcat.
Yeah, he took us to the fucking tournament.
And I love those guys because they have a true, code and ethic to rebuilding this, because that guy could leave OU tomorrow if he wants.
For sure.
And I think it's all about where we get these coaches with families who need a spot, like a bubble, to just raise these things for like 6 years. And to anyone listening, make sure that we got to start recruiting family. We got to start recruiting arms for these Athens Bulldogs again. We need another coach's son to come through here. That's because if you study the history of Athens, a lot of success is that. So my brother's year, Grant Gregory, college coach's son. Yeah. Before that, I think it was.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, his dad was O coordinator, and then they left to go to USF. So he left here, go to USF. He got recruited. Scholarship. So this is one of the big, and I think this is fun to talk about too, because. I grew up on the sideline as a water boy, and this 02 team, it really holds deep in me because I witnessed it as a kid, and it was a very, very strong team that should have won a couple games, but it was Grant Gregory's junior year, and he was being recruited by Big Ten. So that was able to get my older brother my older brother had a shoebox of offers from every MAC school to play linebacker, and he chose Ohio. So, as a kid, you're seeing, and this is where I learned now, it's like you send an MP4 file to get looked at now.
An NP4 file?
Like you send a video over line.
MP4,
These people had to spend money, exchange tapes, come to your game, and then make a decision.
Yeah. Now it's just fucking huddle portal.
That's where I say, like, okay, you got to understand at Athens, you had a very, very prime bubble here because at every game you're playing, you have a Division I mind. Like, how many schools like that of raw talent, like in Youngstown, would just love to have one of those games where they're, like one of those things. So it's like you're being looked at. So a lot of kids, I just wasn't looked at. It's like, no, you were. You just, it's like one of the favorite sayings, like, yeah, I would have gone pro. It just wasn't good enough. Like, you're just not. Yeah. And I think back to why I'm open about this is because people don't realize how foolish they're being living this like self-sabotage life, even like half playing football, half selling drugs, half doing whatever the fuck you're doing. It's ridiculous. Like, you are a coward because you didn't make it. Stop playing or continue to make it because you're just doing this like what we talk about. Yeah. The in-between. Just, I'm too scared to make a decision. Yeah. And it's just like, all right. Like, and that's what we're here to push. Like, whatever your passion is, just get involved and just start because it leads to, like conversations like this. And how I can kind of talk about like, just like where this is kind of going, like, so now.
So 6 years, you're 6 years in, you said.
Yeah.
740U.
740U LLC that I'm, is now Zane Summers International Boxing Enterprises because we, anytime you're an enterprise, you're multifaceted. And we have about 4 different, a lot of people rip and duplicate me. A lot of people watch me. So I'm not going to put the devils of the details in things because we're setting up. And I mean, I really have that unboxing. And it's really deep. Like, people with money are watching me and they're seeing that to where they can just put into their variable right now. And I've seen it already happen. People are ripping and duplicating my business model with boxers in the state of Ohio. And I love it because that's just more opportunity for Ohioans. And anybody who's like, I'm signing him because they didn't get him, please keep signing people because I've already talked to them. and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
Like what I mean is like I don't lie to you about what I can bring to you.
Yeah.
A lot of people will be like, I'll pay this and that, and then when it gets to it. So that kind of talks about the business of like how, like even Mr. Paul, like why they get involved and how he turned his following into boxing, because he turned his Vine following and then he used that following to control his amateur career, which is the most coward thing you can do, but the best business idea you can think of.
So what do you mean? You mean he like leveraged his like notoriety?
So
to get
like let me
fights?
put RIP to my team. Real fan, because you know, like when we deal with it, like we just had a 13-year-old commit suicide after a loss, you know, and just and it's like it's deeper. What I mean, like what you doing up here, like where we're involved with this is real close to where everybody's too scared to go, and because the boxing's for the broken. It's the island of misfit toys. I didn't land it. I landed in boxing because it was there for me. It was brewed in prison. You know, like these things are meant for the broken, but it's a place to, you know, still do your kind of your skills, because, you know, when like to work with college athletes, you got to be enrolled, you got to have degrees, you got to do that. So when I lost that, you know, it was just like professional it is, which is kind of weird. You'd think like professionals would have more.
Yeah.
No, dude, you can be a professional trainer tomorrow and just start. Call yourself that. And so like what I am, you know, I always made a big thing to push. So like I'm commissioned, I'm licensed by California Commission, Nevada Athletic Commission, Texas, Ohio, New York, New Jersey, Florida.
So to say you're commissioned in those states, what does that
I'm
mean?
legally allowed to profit off the sport of boxing, which you have to get approved. You can't just start. You got to get a commission approved. You can have real, like, because I traveled around as a corner guy, and you know a lot. You know, I've earned my stripes in boxing.
Yeah. What is it like to be a cornerman? Like, what do you mean?
Okay, so there's no greater high than what I do than doing a complete 6 to 8 week camp, calling every day. What do we do? And then, you know, you get the promote, like, because all my travel is paid by who we're fighting for. So I don't spend a dime on our travel, planes, none of that. Otherwise, we ain't taking the fight. You know, the standard is the standard. Yeah. So anything less than that, what are you doing? You know, top rank. All these people take care of you. And like, here, what was it? Roll me back right there.
What is it like to be a cornerman?
Okay, so there's different spots. So you've got the head coach, the cornerman, which does water and mouthpiece and ice. Because with us, like you see us cool him down the back of the neck. We doing that to save his life, because a lot of people won't. Like there's a lot of little middle things. Like, you don't cool that man down in between the round, you're cooking his brain. He can die later. So all of that's really important. Some teams don't. But then you've got your cut man who handles the face. So when the last one I just did, my fighter in Atlantic City, most guys will try to headbutt you on purpose when they're down on points to get a blood stoppage, because at the blood stoppage point, it'll revert back. So you might have been up. You know what I mean? So like I'm getting beat up.
Tactic.
Yeah, I'm getting beat up, and then I'm like, you know, let me just run my head into this guy's eye, because I did, you know. And people do that. We got that happen to us. You know, a guy will come in, and you're not allowed to headbutt, but the damage is done.
Yeah.
So the cut man's very, very important, because it keeps the fight going. And we got cut in the fourth. I was able to you get in there and you stop the bleeding with our protocols, and you keep the fight going. So one more round. You know, I'm trained by Stitch Duran. So he's one of the most famous cut men in the game. So I've been fortunate enough to just meet people along my way that are nice and are open to collaborating with me, you know, giving me a lot of people probably think I pay for all my Instagram. Like, I don't pay for anything. I get on there and I just send it, and you know what I mean? So it's a beautiful thing. And I think I'm excited to bring the international headquarters to Athens, because we bring training camps here. So any brands, and, you know, we're doing stuff to be very, very community involved.
Yeah.
And
so how can the community support you in this venture?
You know, right now you can support me by buying just fitness boxing sessions from me. You know, it's on my website.
Which is what?
The 74ulc.com.company. Sorry, I should know that.
No, it'll be in the description.
Yeah. All right,
I'll have a link to it.
what I'm launching here is I'm bringing the luxury brand to Athens, which is everybody's like, luxury brand. What is that? Luxury means like, we don't, the price is the price because what you get out of it. What you get out of it comes when you buy it. We deal with the top brands. You're joining a community that you'll be backstage at fights. It's deep, and that's where I really, really got to give love back to my Long Beach community, because I scratched and clawed in Athens, and then you land in one community, and then you're just a trainer boxing manager here. The support I wanted in Long Beach, I never got here. So coming back, open-minded, collaborative, and I really this is accessible to anybody. We can go to a fight at any time, and I think some people will try to stranglehold what they think they have in the game. Look, I know I'm in the TV matchmaker circle. We talk regularly, very regularly. You're not in that circle, so it's just kind of like, I'm not going to sit here and try to be anything more than I am. And that's where it's beautiful, is because this is, Ohio runs boxing. That's the saying, and that's my partner, and there's 7 degrees of it. And, we can all get together, and that's something I want to do in this area. Is I'm a big boxing figure that has a lot of power to do things. I can legally run a show at the Convo tomorrow, but would it be logistically purposeful?
Viable.
Would it be who wants to cover the bill? Who wants to do that? And it involves a lot. So that's what I do.
Insurance is this on?
So we can just kind of that happens as a manager. So I deal in the world of potentiation. I connect dots. So somebody will be like, hey, I need a 147 for the Geron Boots Enos undercard right here. 10 rounds, 20, 30,000, 40, 50. And then you try to set it up. You do a lot of that behind this. A lot of my scenes is behind. And when for the past 4 major boxing shows, I've been in the talks of trying to get people, but it just doesn't always land. And in losing my top 2 athletes to injuries and situations, I've kind of gone back into a restructure phase where we're really just trying to focus on how this impacts the community better, and then just create like a big boxing community in Athens, because there isn't one. You got to go to San. Well, it's not always convenient to go 20 miles. So you can come meet with me I run my sessions right now at the OU track, because luxury doesn't need fancy building. I mean, this is boxing and this is combatives. What I'm saying is you're learning from me, who has learned from top tier coaches. So my head coach is Moniette Flowers down in Tampa, and Victor. So we run these beautiful sessions that help you learn boxing vocabulary, join a community, and then all that transpires into just becoming a force together for when, because this is coming, there will be shows, but, I'm a site locating right now with all my partners, with different casinos, different venues, so my day consists of a lot of reaching out to make potentiation happen.
Yeah, dude, that's got to be frustrating. Though,
oh, yeah.
Kind of not ever.
And then it not, yeah.
Yeah, fuck. You put all that effort. It's like, but I mean, it's like really the way you look at it is like it took all the effort of those falling through for the one to come. Like if you didn't put the effort into the other ones that didn't, like you never were going to make the one that did.
And I had just gotten off a string of really lining some great things up. So it's kind of the opposite end of it. I had things fall through that if they happen, I'm on a, like the guy who beat us got a Golden Boy deal, so it's like,
what is Golden Boy?
Golden Boy is a top promotion company out of Los Angeles,
nice.
Oscar De La Hoya.
I know the name.
Yeah, so I've been in a room with him, in Vegas for a fight. So when those guys enter rooms, you're just like, yeah, I know the upper echelon of feeling of things. Like when big money enters a room, and boxing's like that. And I think what is just beautiful is it's unique to the area, and this just really I've got a senior who just finished track. I've got a junior down at Warren High School. Getting some solid looks. Everybody forgets it, because this is actually one of my favorite stories, and we can end on that. Is it we get into that time? Yeah, okay, cool. Because one of my youngest kids, I've worked with him since 4th grade, but his dad decided to take it. He grew up on the sideline watching Joe. And I mean, he was like in 6th grade seeing this. So it is embedded in this kid's memory, and he is becoming one of the top prospects at quarterback down in South Carolina, because his dad moved him down here. I'm trying to get him back. I want him back in the town because he's our guy. He's a Bulldog, a little kid, a Bulldog at heart. But we've had a lot of kids that, And I've seen a lot of really good athletes start in that program and leave as well. So, you know, I think my true passion is actually working. This is all just a spin back to my passion of just working with local athletes.
Yeah.
And I really love helping kids learn from my path. Like, look, this is what you don't do when you join this team, because otherwise it's not going to work. So I think
guidance, man. It's guidance to the
just
kids.
being open about, look, give advice. The true term of OG is not how many people you bury and all that. It means offering game of how to not be people that. So in the end, you can be this gangster or whatever this is that everybody's trying to be for a very purposeful cause. And I think that's what the beauty of today meeting was. And it was truly an honor to come here and just let my mind run and and talk it out.
Thanks so much.
No,
I
you.
appreciate your time.
We Bulldogs for life, man.
Yeah. Again, I hope that somebody can hear this and hear the authenticity that you're bringing, hear that you can admit mistakes and acknowledge that you were the reason for them, and that you also have the power, that it takes a lot of effort to overcome those things. I think you said a lot of powerful things. I really appreciate your time, appreciate your story.
Thank you for giving me the platform.
Yeah, man, and certainly
do it again.
A recurring invite.
You're really? Oh man, call it that. So,
awesome.
Well, let me go do some more stuff, and then we'll Always Athens. Everybody, consider Always Athens a person who the 7-4 ULC looks after.
Shout out. So one more time, WBC Zane Summers on
WBC,
Instagram.
that's my Instagram interface. If you want to find me, WBC Zane Summers, that's who I'm working with currently and doing a lot of projects with. Tap in. We got fitness boxing for the community. This is how you can get into the community right now. Right now, I'm running a special of my founder today's price. So if you work with me right now, all those prices will lock in for life for you. They will $728. They're going to jump back up to my original price out in LA, because to the people that worked with me out there, I don't want to come down because they've paid a lot of money to work with me. Now but that's my price. So I want to offer it.
Stand on it.
Yeah, I want to offer it to the community because I don't need anybody. I want you to join,
Certainly.
right? It's not like, all right, I'm good. I got my things, but man, if you want to join and you want to get in on this, and we start soon with our MIT sessions, I'm really excited about. And then, it takes courage. Just reach out. You're not going to be good your first session. Start sucking with me, and we're going to be good. Like I'm telling you, the boxing's for people who just want to come put time in. And it's just a lot of fun. And I guarantee you'll have some of the most stress relief feelings you've ever had.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Zane Summers, thanks so much.
Thank you, brother.
Awesome.